Why the interview?
Well, that's true. We met back in '89. I was doing an interview with you, and you were playing with Dark Angel and Nuclear Assault in Pumpehuset in Copenhagen, and you had a great show. It was chaos on stage. And I believe that was the first time I was stage diving. That was at one of your shows.
Thank you very much.
And, yeah, it was total chaos, and everyone was having a lot of fun. And I can remember that someone called you not only a thrash band, but they also called you Fun Thrashers.
I've never particularly heard that phrase, but yeah, that works. That works.
It was so fun going to your concerts.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, and no word of a lie, I remember the show quite well. And funnily enough, as this interview goes on, I think I'm starting to remember. It's kind of weird because we can both see each other now, and I'm just trying to remember what you looked like when you were 15.
Well, my hair was a bit like here.
Yeah, I know. I thought that. I got sort of shoulder length hair. Yeah. That was a really cool show. Obviously, it was our first time in Europe, and we were kind of, we were pretty well. We were bottom of the bill. It was us, then Dark Angel, and Nuclear Assault. I mean, a great tour to be on. I'm not complaining. But we were a little bit unknown in Europe compared to the two bands we were touring with, and so some receptions could be a bit standoffish, and they weren't sure, that they didn't get the fact that we were, that we had a sense of humour, and that certainly confused the German audiences. But all cliches being equal,
but at that time. Most thrash bands were so serious, the Bay Area scene with Metallica and Slayer and so on, Megadeth and so on, they were all so serious. And you were like a breath of fresh air.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. I remember that gig. And as I said, we had kind of different sort of reception in other places. But that show, I just remember clear as day, it was like being back in the UK. Everybody just got it. Yeah. We had stage divers, of which you were one. Yeah, we had stage divers. And it was bizarre because I remember coming off stage and we were all going, "Wow, that was fucking awesome!" Because I think we'd just done about 5 dates in Germany, and that was challenging. To say the least. Although my band told me that a really good intro would be when we come on stage, say, "Wir sind Acid Rain und ich bin der Kleine." Right? They told me to say that, and I kept saying that, and I said that in front of a German guy, and he just went, "What? We are Acid Rain and I am very small." It's like, you motherfuckers. I've been doing it the whole tour through Germany. So we played these German shows, and some were better than others, but they certainly we didn't click like we clicked with other audiences. And then we came to Denmark and we played that Copenhagen show, and it was just it was awesome. It was like being back in the UK, and it was a real kind of it was real motivation for us. It was great. It gave us because we'd been just getting some quite lackadaisical kind of receptions from audiences and through Germany. So it really gave us a real sort of motivation and kick up the arse. And it was like, yeah, great, this is really cool. So thank you to you and everybody else who was there that night.
You see, I've still got this one.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. That is awesome. Have you been able to find the Apple Core archives over there?
Nope. Well,
no.
No.
Right. Are you aware of what the Apple Core Archives is?
I think I am, but you better explain it to the listeners.
Yeah, of course. Yes, listeners, if you don't know, it's a triple box set of CDs. It was not released digitally. And it's a triple box set that contains every single song we ever released, apart from one which we couldn't find any copies of at all. But yeah, it's basically, and it's available all over Europe if you check Amazon, and it's even available in the States. Actually, I had a guy from New York telling me that he managed to track one down out there as well. So basically, whatever country you're in, just don't Google, because Google are cunts. So use the search engine DuckDuckGo, which is an awesome search engine. They don't pay me to say this. Well, they gave me a free T-shirt, but other than that. it's a brilliant search engine. It doesn't keep a record of any of your searches, and they don't they don't follow you, and they don't follow your searches. So so it's great for security. But so yeah, wherever you are in the world, use that search engine. Put in Apple Core Archives by Acid Rain and find it. Find a website that will supply it to you in your country. And yeah, it's out there. It's out there. So go get it, people.
All right, great. But now you're back together again. You broke up in '92, and now
91.
91, and now you've decided to give it another go.
It's been a long haul. This time 2 years ago, I rehearsed twice with the Acid Rain lineup, which was Ramsey, Adam, Mac, Kev, basically the obnoxious lineup.
Yeah.
We did 2 rehearsals, one as a 4-piece, one as a 3-piece. Kev wasn't able to make any of them because Kev was in Australia with Bullet for My Valentine, who he works with. And, he'd said, look, right, let's do it. So basically, Adam and Ramsey were working together, just basically getting shit tight. And me and Matt came in and we did 2 rehearsals. And I have video footage, actually. And we did 2 rehearsals, and then Adam and Ramsey carried on jamming and working, and then Ramsey went very quiet. Didn't hear from him for a few months, and then just got a message over Facebook saying that he wasn't going to continue for various reasons, but he wasn't going to be able to continue. So it was. That was kind of like a real blow, because you lose your drummer, you lose the ability to rehearse, you lose everything, and I was gutted, absolutely gutted. Good old fashioned British expression. I was gutted, and so I said to Adam, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "I don't know." So we this was, I think, about October, November when he told us. So we left it over Christmas. I spoke to Adam again in January, and Adam said, "Look, no, I'm not going to continue." At which point, Kev obviously is on the road a lot, so we weren't. He was still up for it, but never around. And so I had guitarist Paul, who's with us now, and originally he joined. He was going to be backup for Kev when Kev wasn't around. And then, because Kev wasn't, then we had to have a conversation with Kev where I basically had to say, "Look, Kev, we need to put a lineup together, and I can't build a band around somebody who's not around. So can you just come in and do guest spots whenever?" And he's like, "Yeah, cool, and I totally understand. That's great, fine." So that meant Paul was in the band as a kind of full-time replacement for Kev. Then all of a sudden, it was just me, Mac, and Paul that were left. And I was thinking of doing some kind of thrash project and getting people together, and all people I know from all over the years. And then I thought, well, that was a really fucking stupid idea, because I can't even get 5 people to play these songs, never mind people all over the fucking world. So so I decided to put a project together, and I woke up one morning and I had this idea, and I rang Paul and I said, "Paul, this project, I'm going to do it." And he was like, "Okay, cool." I said, "I've got a name for it as well." He's like, "Okay, what are you going to call it?" I said, "Acid Rain." And he just laughed and went, "Yeah, cool, man." And then I did a reapproach Ramsey and said, "How about one-off show?" But it was a no-go. So then it began the process of trying to find a new lineup. So there was me, Paul, and Mac. And we decided to go ahead, and just a few days later, I was going to see Onslaught in London, and I was doing an interview with Nige from my podcast. And I got chatting to Jeff, their bass player, and he said, "Come on, man, last time I spoke to you, you guys were, you were getting back together. What's the score?" And I explained that there'd been a whole change, and it just wasn't looking possible anymore, but we were going to move forward, but I needed a drummer, and that's going to be the real sticking point. And he went, "I've got just the guy for you." And he suggested Mark Jackson, who's our drummer, who'd just left Empire of Evil. So I spoke to Mark, and Mark was like, "Yeah, cool, I'll learn the stuff." He came down, and then me, Paul, and Mark jammed for a few months, got really tight, it was really cool. Mac still hadn't been able to make a rehearsal, and we still needed another guitarist. We tried a guitarist. Mac was supposed to be at the rehearsal, but unfortunately he wasn't. And then unfortunately he became the last of the original lineup, apart from myself, to quit. Just basically, he just didn't have the time. He just couldn't squeeze it into the schedule, and that's understandable. And so we tried out the second guitarist. That wasn't really working. And we came home, and a guy had posted on our Facebook page of him playing Goddess, and I was like, wow. So I literally rang him that night. Well, I Facebook friended him, got a message to him. I rang him up and said, learn the stuff, come and audition. And he was like, yeah, cool. It turns out, long story short, this guy is a man that Kev had texted me about a year previously saying, look, if you ever want a guitarist, there's a guy here who's really, he's a great mate, he'd be ideal for the band, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, look, that spot's gone, I've got somebody in mind for it. So a year later, we end up with Kev's mate in the band.
All right.
And then it was find a bass player. I found Pete straight away. I went to my phone and thought, God, there's got to be some contacts in here where I can find a bass player. And I sent a message to Cy from Annihilated, and he said, what about Pete D in Cremated? So I thought he was a guitarist. So he's a bass player first and foremost. So messaged Pete. He said, yeah, I'd love to audition. So Pete and Dean auditioned on the same day, and they both got the job. And now it's a 5-piece with only me from the original lineup. Yeah. But that's taken 2 years to put together from rehearsals originally that took place 2 years ago. There have been times where I'd given up on it. There's times where, as I said, I said to the rest of the lineup, look, let's do one show, original lineup, and walk away. That wasn't possible. So here we are. But I'm really glad that I've hung in there to try and piece this together. Bearing in mind, when this all started, I was one of the most reticent to do this. Ramsey was really up for it. Adam was really up for it. Matt was really up for it. Kev was really up for it. And I was kind of like, well, I've got my comedy, and I'm not sure. And then 18 months later, I'm the only fucking guy left. But I got bitten. I got bitten by the mistress of metal. Yeah. And as much as rewarding as comedy is, and I love it. And I was out gigging this weekend. I was out gigging last night, and I love it. But when the chance to do something like this comes again, I'd be fucking insane not to do it. Yeah. So I just went looking for the guys, and also I kind of felt a responsibility to Paul as well, because Paul had been there from the very beginning. So he kind of went through all of the ups and downs of people being in and then people being out. He went through all that as well, and all along I kept saying to him, we'll do something together. Whatever happens, we will work together. And it's amazing. He was our first choice to replace Adam 25 years ago, but we decided to carry on as a 4-piece. And so 25 years later, Paul has finally got the job, and it's great. So yeah, it's been a real battle. And for anybody that thinks, well, it's hardly fucking Acid Rain, well, fine. But the simple message is, I've never called it a reformation. I've always called it a reboot. And the simple message is, if you want to hear these songs live again, if you want to see this band live again, it's this or nothing. Yeah. So I chose this. Yeah. And all the ex-members are cool with it. Ramsey's cool with it. Mac's cool with it. Kev's cool with it. Everybody's cool with it. Kev is still sort of involved in the background as well, and I'm sure he'll be making some special guest appearances, and so everyone's cool with it. So as far as I'm concerned, they are the opinions that matter. Yeah, the people who've been in this band are cool with it. Yeah. So anybody who wants to have a problem with it can have a problem with it, but it's going to carry on anyway. All right. So yeah, that's where we find ourselves today.